Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C, and we're talking Charlton and Big C sports. This is real sports talk, and we appreciate everyone for listening. Our audience is growing. We are worldwide. I want to give a special thanks to all of our Latin American audience, and so we say bienvenidos. Welcome to Charlton and Big C. And also, Big C, I know that you're down in the great state of Texas, and I know they have a lot of humidity down in Texas, so it makes big guys, big muscular guys like you sweat a lot. So what's your experience been like down in Texas, Big C?
Well, Charlton, I'm suffering from a little Lone Star hangover from last night. You know, I'm not a big Gatorade fan, so I had to hydrate myself in other ways.
I heard Texas is big on barbecue, though. You didn't have any barbecue down there?
Big barbecue place, man. I tell you, and I ate today, Charlton. You would not believe the amount of meat I consumed. I have a protein hangover right now.
Wait a minute. I thought you were vegetarian. I thought you said you were vegetarian.
Well, there's a lot of grass down in this state, trust me. But I'm sitting there, and I'm chowing down on some barbecue, and I look to my right, and there was Chael Sonnen. Chael Sonnen, former MMA and UFC championship fighter, light heavyweight fighter. Charlton retired in 2014.
Yeah.
And I was about ready to take him on until I saw that he could eat faster than I could. And so it made me nervous that he might have been in better shape still. But, he looked good. We had a great conversation talking about the status of the MMA and UFC fights now, where it's grown to in American society. That it's basically taken over. The interactive ring sports. It has surpassed boxing for years. It's supplanted it, but just the rising stars of the sports. We're all aware of Ronda Rousey and ladies like that.
Yeah.
But, Chael, for years, was a dominant fighter. Like I said, he looked like he could still get in the ring. We had a couple of Lone Stars today, as well as too much meat, and we had a great time.
Wait, too much meat in Texas is an oxymoron. I think the only thing that eats grass in Texas are the cows. That's from what I hear. And also, again, go ahead, Big C.
Well, on the way back to the hotel, I saw a couple of them hiding behind a billboard. So I don't know what they were nervous about.
What, cows are vegetarians? Also, today's show is beautiful. April the 5th, 2016, and this segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealer, home of the Escalade. You can only get it there new, and go down and tell them that Charlton and Big C sent you. Also, Big C, we know that we like to pay homage to Hollywood, and it goes back to the great Chris Rock at the Oscars and how people were being ostracized from the Oscars, and they wanted to find out how they can make it more equal. But one of the best actors out there in the world that's actually following us on Twitter is none other than the great Tyler Perry. Now, Tyler Perry, he's done so much and come so far in building his own image and doing it just like Sinatra said. He's doing it his way, Big C. What are your thoughts on Tyler Perry?
Tyler Perry is one of the iconic figures in movie, stage, and film.
Yeah.
This is a man who came from around 20 years ago being homeless, Charlton. And he has built a dynamic empire in the entertainment industry. His plays really is what set him off, got him going, and he took those plays and transcended them into movies. Charlton. He did the Medea family series that he's done.
Yeah.
He's done Alex Croft, Diary of a Mad Black Woman, Temptation. He has written as well as he has acted in most of his films.
Yeah.
But, the iconic part of Tyler Perry is his level that he goes to far as explaining his stories. He did the series Why Did I Get Married?
Yeah.
Had the great Janet Jackson in that series along with him.
Yeah, he got a lot of guys in trouble when that movie came out because a lot of women started saying, you know what, I need to see that movie 3 or 4 times, Big C.
Yeah, he did, Charlton. But he's been great for the African American film and movie industry, Charlton. He has a TV series that run a lot on TNT. So Meet the Browns is one of his shows.
Yeah.
He's an inspiration for anybody of any race who is looking to get into the entertainment industry and stick with your dreams. Just don't give up because you have a hiccup along the way.
Yeah.
You have to stand fast, stay forward, and focus about what you're doing. Acting is like athletics.
Yeah.
It's when preparation meets opportunity, Charlton, that's when you can succeed.
Well, another thing I'd like to mention about Tyler Perry, and this might be a touchy subject, so I hope it doesn't come off the wrong way, but I know that Hollywood has a lot of pressure to look pretty, So it's called the Nip Tuck Society, where there's people, I won't even say any actors' names, but we know Hollywood is famous, Big C, for people who get the nip and tuck job. Well, Tyler Perry, he actually plays a lot of roles where they have full-size figures as well, because he doesn't discriminate. There's such a thing called size discrimination. It's in Hollywood, it's really unspoken, but he also, in a lot of his roles, he does a lot of things to embrace everyone's size, skinny and big. What are your thoughts on that, Big C?
Well, he has. If you look at the Why Did I Get Married series, where the singer Gil Scott was a larger woman who has played key roles in all of those movies. And Jill is just a tremendous singer and actress, and he embraces that. When you look at the Medea series where he plays this larger, older woman that he cross-dresses for Charlton. So he embraces all body types in life, and that's what America's made of. It's not made up of all these wafer-thin women that people see all made up.
Wait a minute. We're not talking about the wives with the housewives of Beverly Hills. Everybody has a chance to gain. You can eat a Big Mac and not feel bad about it, Big C. Is that what you're saying?
Well, without Maybelline, Charlton, these women you don't want to see. You know, anybody can Photoshop anybody.
Hey, men too. Men too. Now, I've seen some guys that the male, because a lot of men are under the same kind of pressure to try to look good. Everyone can't do it naturally like we do on the Charlton and Big C show, Big C. But I understand there's a pressure for men too, Big C.
You live in that bomb state, sunny California, so everybody looks good out there. So, I wouldn't even want to walk down the street with you. Let me tell you that, okay?
Well, I understand that, Big C. But as we also thank Tyler Perry, just a great actor. One thing I want to have you mention, though, because in this world, everybody thinks you have to have a lot to get started with anything in life. But I think, did you already mention that he grew up kind of on the wrong side of the tracks, if we can say that, Big C?
Well, yeah, he did, Charlton. You know, when you grew up on the wrong side of the track, you run into some law enforcement trouble. But, you know, when you get with the right people and listen, I mean, it's very easy to be distracted through negativity in life. And society has so much of that, especially with the internet, Charlton, when you look at it. There's everything that is exposed to the youth nowadays. Used to be about parent tutelage. That is no more. Parent is just a visitor now in a child's life. But Tyler Perry has straightened out his life. He's a model citizen. You know, he's hosted President Obama twice in the city of Atlanta when he's come in with fundraisers and dinners. So he's a great ambassador for the Hollywood community as well as the American community, Charlton, that, you know, you're rubbing elbows with the President of the United States after being homeless.
Well, and I understand he's also a big sports fan, so we bring it to you with Hollywood, also the sports world on Charlton and Big C Sports every day, Monday through Friday, worldwide at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Also, Big C, I know you're down in the great state of Texas, and we just had the men's Final Four last night. Talk about a buzzer beater we had. Chris Jenkins of Villanova wasn't about to be outdone by Marcus Page, who hit his own three-pointer to tie the game at about 4 seconds left. He comes down and nails a three with no time left, and they end up winning 77-74. What a lightning rod of a game. Kind of boring down the stretch. It was picked up, but the game overall wasn't that exciting until the last 4 or 5 minutes, Big C. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, you know, that's where the state of basketball has gone to, Charlton, over the past couple of decades, is that, you know, it comes down to the last couple of minutes of the game. I mean, we give him homage for making that shot, but
amazing
the awareness of his teammates, getting him the ball in the position to take and make the shot. So that's what the team game is all about, Charlton. When we look at players that are juniors and seniors, they have the unselfish awareness to pass the ball. When you look at these players that are one and done, I want to get this shot to be on ESPN so that I can get out of here on a high note, hopefully. But, you know, that's a credit to North Carolina and a credit to Villanova.
Both
that
teams.
The players stay around long enough, Charlton, to get an education, to have social and sports skills to work as a unit. Versus that one and done scenario we've seen with so many colleges.
Well, see, you're always putting down the University of Kentucky. It's okay if a guy wants to come in and play for 6 months and go on and try to make it in the NBA. I know this seems to be the opposite of how the great University of Kentucky recruits players, because you mentioned even the kid at North Carolina, Marcus Page, he's an academic All-American as well as a basketball player, Big C. Very good job coaching for North Carolina.
But, you know, Charlton, that's what the talking heads don't do enough on the worldwide leaders sport. They don't pay homage to the players who stay around 3, 4, and 5 years, who get the degrees, who become model citizens, not just trying to be an athlete, but become model citizens. They want to talk about the guys who are on their highlight reel.
Yeah.
That's all they want to talk about. They want to talk about the tabloidism. There's a lot of quality young men in college basketball. Granted, they're not getting paid enough money.
Right.
We all know that. You know, these universities are making millions of dollars.
Wait, hold on. Are you saying that universities have made millions of dollars? I heard it was nearly $1 billion combined for all the schools involved in March Madness. That's how much came into the NCAA coffers, Big C. $1 billion.
Well, Charlton, what I looked at today was that the University of Villanova passed out new sweatsuits to their players. You know, wow. You know, they got new sweatsuits. They got a new baseball cap. They got a new pair of sneakers.
Right.
Hopefully they gave them some clean underwear. You know, I'm hoping they at least threw in some underwear. And a T-shirt.
T-shirt.
You know, so they got paid graciously. You know, they got a whole new outfit that wherever they go, people will recognize them. They'll see, you know, NCAA champions, Final Four, all of that.
Yeah.
But, you know, putting some money in their pocket, Charlton, we talked about these players being able to go to school for the past month, being able to keep up on their academics.
Right.
And that's an impossible task when you're on the road for a month, to be able to go to class. So, you know, at some point, let's be realistic about this. Somebody's getting paid. You know, help the players out on every level, college football, college basketball, college baseball. If you're generating revenue for a university, find a way to give a percentage of that back to the players. You don't have to make them rich,
right?
But give them a little bit back to make it more comfortable to go to college.
Well, Big C, remember we talked about in college, and most people, if you've ever been in college, you understand this. Usually there's from 4 to 7 roommates in a college apartment or dormitory. Usually only one has a car, and everybody wants to ride, but there's no money for gas. What's that?
How did you know what was going on in my apartment when I was in college? I mean, you walk in, it wasn't like you could sit on the couch because somebody was sleeping in it.
Right.
Somebody was laying on the floor. You got 2 people in each bedroom, and you know the dishes were always dirty.
I remember when I was in college, I had a guy, I won't say his name, but he would always come in and he would eat food, Big C, but he would never want to clean his plate. There was always dirty dishes on the front table because he wouldn't want to clean up. But again, it's back to this pay thing. It's like the NCAA says, we're barely breaking even. We brought in nearly $1 billion, but we don't have enough money to give out to the athletes that helped us make the money in the first place. And I know everybody's patting them on the back. They're clapping hands and saying how great a player they were. But it's a shame that such entertainment was provided for free, Big C. I just think that hopefully, I know Jay Billis is a former player and also an attorney. He's talked about hopefully the NCAA will come up with a way to pay players. But you know it's not going to happen unless people like us and some of the other networks are talking about it, Big C.
Well, Charlton, they're going to have to change the name of the NCAA. No cash or cars for athletes. You know, that's what it is. That's the bottom line of what it is. You know, the coaches can make all the money. The universities can make all the money. Oh, we're giving you a free scholarship. Okay, what's the ROI? The ROI, the return on investment for buying these athletes. If your university has made $13 million, how much did it cost for those scholarships for the players? So I think the return on investment is pretty good. And each team has 3 or 4 walk-ons, Charlton. So they're not even on scholarship. Okay, so when they're talking about they're paying for scholarships, what about the walk-ons that are out there practicing every day, helping out the guys that are on scholarship, and you don't have enough funds to even give them? Well, it's not that you don't have enough funds, but you won't delegate any of those funds, Charlton, to help these walk-on players. You give them a partial scholarship. You give them books. You give them room and book, but you're not giving them a whole scholarship. Well, that's kind of chintzy, some of these programs, Charlton, that is making millions and millions of dollars.
Well, ironically, because last night I noticed the broadcasters on the TNT that I watched, they were former, at least the analyst was from North Carolina, so it seemed a bit biased when you're watching the game. If you're pulling for Villanova, it seemed as if it was a home call. But I do notice that if you saw, there was a lot of attention paid to Michael Jordan, the great Michael Jordan being in the crowd. Also Vince Carter, Ahmad Rashad, who went to Oregon, I believe. But they did a lot of showing of these great athletes who went on to make it really big, like Jordan and Carter. But I think that's kind of a deception point because they want to kind of say, hey, look who's here at the games. If you come play for these major colleges, you can be like Mike. And we know that's not possible for everybody, Big C.
Well, Charlton, let's be realistic. Okay, Michael Jordan played on a team that had 3 NBA All-Stars, Sam Perkins, James Worthy, and himself. Okay?
Yeah.
That's only 3 and 15. Where are the other 12 players that were on that roster, that championship team that night when they beat Georgetown in '82?
Was he on with Kenny? Did Kenny the Jet Smith?
Players,
was Kenny the Jet Smith on that team also, or did he come later, Big C? I think
Kenny Smith was prior to that team, Joe.
Okay, so when you look at that and you watch how TV puts a lot of emphasis on, look at these great players who came here, it's almost like telling these young kids they can do it too. Now, when I think about some of the great programs for the Final Four, Indiana, UNLV, UCLA, Georgetown, Kansas, of course the great one and done Kentucky, Louisville, North Carolina, and Villanova, academically their kids tend to do it right. But we know, ironically, when I looked at the game last night, Las Vegas had Villanova the underdog. They happened to win, a lot like in the Super Bowl, because Vegas money wins big when the underdog wins. There might be some probation coming down the road for North Carolina, but, I mean, is that something, when you look at calls going a certain way, and I heard one of the analysts kept pointing that out, something people don't want to mention, but there was a lot of times when calls maybe did not go UNC's way. Is that a way to save face for the NCAA, giving the championship trophy away and maybe having to take it away like they did for the University of Southern California, Big C?
Well, yeah, that's something that the NCAA really didn't want to have to do, was strip Carolina of the title. But those sanctions will come down against the University of North Carolina.
Yeah.
There was also some talk that if North Carolina had won this game, it would most likely be Roy Williams' last game.
Yeah.
So he'll probably be back. But the sanctions are due to come down from the NCAA if they're going to be fair and impartial about the rest of the university. I know you mentioned Indiana and you talked like that. Back in 1982, Keith Smart hit the buzzer beater to beat Syracuse, in a championship game. So these buzzer beaters have gone on for a long time, Charlton. They're nothing new in NCAA championship games. Now that it's more resonated through the explosiveness of television and social media, we see it more. But these games have been occurring like this for decades when we go back and look at and see players that have hit buzzer beaters. And just because you have a buzzer beater does not mean you're going to go and have a long, illustrious NBA career, Charlton.
Exactly.
It's about having an education. And the NCAA has not put enough stress on players getting educations. They put a lot of emphasis on not paying players, but they're not putting a lot of emphasis on players getting educations, Charlton.
Well, we look at how March Madness took about a month to complete, and the maddening fact is not one player, not one Big C, earned any money legally with nearly $1 billion passed hands from fans, TV revenue, onto the NCAA and some of these coaches. And as we also talk about college basketball, and this segment is sponsored by BMW, the home of the ultimate driving machine. You can go down and test drive the all-new 760 Li, known as the M7, over 600 horsepower. Big C, and tell them that Charlton and Big C sent you. Another March Madness coming to a conclusion, Big C. For the women's Final Four, tonight we have Connecticut at 37-0. They're playing Syracuse at 30-7. Now, Connecticut coach Gino Auriemma is trying to pass the great John Wooden for the most national titles. What are your thoughts on him, Big C? How well he's positioned UConn in the women's Final Four?
Well, Charlton, UConn is coming into the game 72-0.
Yeah.
They have a 72-game win streak, okay? Coach Auriemma is trying to win his fourth consecutive championship run.
Yeah.
Okay, 4 consecutive championships. That means the seniors on this team do not know how to walk out without a championship ring on their fingers. You know, he is right now gunning for one for the big toe. He's got 10, okay?
Well, I think with him, they could probably, if they really gave it a chance, they could probably give the Philadelphia 76ers a run for the money. The women playing against the men, that might be something that'd be worth paying to go see, Big C. But
I think they might be a little scared to go out on the court with them.
Talk about Title IX. We want to make it equality. Let them play on the floor. I'm sure some of the women can wipe the floor with some of the men. But also, Big C, when you look at the sports world, and you talk about one of the great wrestlers you ran into down in the great state of Texas, and we have the NFL draft. They're all talking about the NFL draft and how some of these great quarterbacks are going to come out of the college ranks and get into the NFL and set the league on fire, Big C. But I know you talk about fall in the draft, and you cover the East Coast and all the great players. Just your thoughts when we talk about quarterbacks coming into the draft and why there's such a push to get kids that have never even played great competition to make them first-round draft picks like Carson Wentz, etc., Big C.
Well, look at Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz won a couple of, Division III championships, Charlton 1A, whatever it was.
Yeah.
But he didn't play against the big boys. You can't find 5 defensive players that Carson Wentz played against that's going to be drafted in the first 5 rounds, okay?
Can you find 5 in the conference that would be NFL talent caliber competition, Big C?
Yeah. So, he didn't play Alabama.
Yeah.
Where you have 20 guys on the team that can play the NFL. Matter of fact, Alabama this year, Charlton, has 8 players who will be drafted in the first 2 to 3 rounds of the NFL draft on their defense.
8 players.
Now that 8 players. Now that same defense, there's a quarterback named Cordell Jones. Okay, Charlton.
Yeah.
Cordell Jones out of Ohio State won a championship against that defense.
Yeah.
But Cordell Jones is not being looked at as one of the elite quarterbacks.
Well, see, go ahead, Big C.
Now, all Cordell Jones has done is one. They talk about Connor Cook being the best quarterback out of the Big 10, whatever that. How many teams they got? 15
I think they have 14 or 15. Academics don't matter.
I get lost in the numbers. Numbers weren't my major when I was in college.
Obviously not the Big 10 either. They got like 14, 15 schools in there now, Big C.
Now, they talk about the maturation of a Connor Cook in that conference. Okay, Connor Cook looked very pedestrian last year. Now, Connor Cook never threw for more than 60% of his passes playing in the Big 10, Charlton.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to find out where is he an elitist quarterback. They also talk about Christian Hackenberg out of Penn State.
Yeah.
I can't remember the last time that, Penn State won more than 9 games in a season.
Yeah.
All right, so you're talking about 2 quarterbacks who really haven't had these dominant numbers, but we got a Cordell Jones at Ohio State, an African-American quarterback who's won a national championship, who is not being put into elite status, as we talked about before. You can win national championships as African-American quarterbacks on the college level, but when you get to looking at the pro status, you can't win it. But Cordell Jones, I believe, in all 3 of those championship games 2 years ago, Charlton, passed for over 300 yards in all of those games against some of the elite defenses. In the Big Ten championship game, in the first round of the 14 playoff, and even in the championship game, he made defenses look very pedestrian, Charlton. The guy has a big arm. He's 6'5". He's 250 pounds. He runs a 4.6 40. Now, all of these quarterbacks...
Well, we don't want a quarterback that talented playing quarterback in the NFL, do we, Big C? Don't we want someone who can't run?
You want, as they say, we want the prototypical guy who's going to be in the pocket, who stands 6'4", 6'5", who has blonde hair, blue eyes, and has a semi-strong arm. And if he makes a mistake, maybe the receivers weren't on the same page with him, okay? That's how you cover up for that guy. The receivers weren't on the same page with him. Well, he's the one calling the play.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe he's not on the same page with the receivers. But when you look at Connor Cook down the stretch, he didn't look good at all. The kid at Cal, Jeff Goff.
Yeah.
When was the last time he beat Kevin Hogan, the guy who won the back-to-back Pac-10 championships? Okay, Charlton? He has not beat Stanford. So you don't even beat the teams in your conference, and yet you're slated the best quarterback in your conference.
Well, Big C...
Paxton Lynch.
Yeah.
He hit the wall during the season last year, Charlton. Memphis started off like 7-8-0.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, they ran into some tough competition.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, they lost 3 of the next 4 games.
Well,
so that happens when you play in the NFL. That's every week.
That's a good point. And I want to bring up on our next segment that this segment is sponsored by your local Northern California Ford dealer, home of the all-new F-150. They build it Ford tough. Go down and test drive it and tell them that Charlton and Big C sent you. Now, also, Big C, a conversation that I love getting into because sometimes you open my mind to things. Like Chris Rock, I kind of think that everybody has the same opportunity because I'm more new school and I know you're more old school, right?
Charlton, it's like what I tell you. What is the newspaper? It's done on black on top of white people, okay? So it's black and white, so go ahead on, continue.
Okay, so when I'm looking at television and I watch ESPN and I watch Fox and I watch all these great sports outlets, and I love it. I love how we talk about athletics and how great athletics is for everybody. But I don't see the local media having the same angle that you have because it kind of slips my mind. The quarterback that helped Ohio State win the national championship, there's no talk about him being a top draft pick, but we're finding a guy that played at North Dakota. I mean, it's not the same level of competition. I know Alabama had also several African-American quarterbacks. The last 4 Super Bowls all had an African-American quarterback. That's incredible because there's only about 8 or 9 starting in the league, Big C. But are you still saying that the NFL at a time would not allow black men to play quarterback, going back to the great Warren Moon even, that led Washington to the Rose Bowl, but he had to go to Canada because they wouldn't give him a chance. They didn't want to see a black man leading their team. Is that still today? Do you think that still goes on, Big C?
Well, Charlton, in 1977, James Harris led the NFL in passing as a quarterback with the Los Angeles Rams, okay?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, a trade was made for Joe Namath, a cripple, has-been, drunk, washed-up quarterback.
Right.
To come from the New York Jets, who couldn't throw the ball 40 yards down the field. Made Peyton Manning look like a teenager. Okay? James Harris.
Hey, that's Broadway Joe. That's talking royalty now, Big C.
They traded James Harris to the Chargers to back up the great Dan Fouts.
Yeah.
You're not going to beat out Dan Fouts. I don't care who you were. So you take the NFL's leading passer, you trade him to the second leading passer in the NFL, and make him sit the bench for the rest of his career. The next 4 years, he sits on the bench behind Dan Fouts.
Yeah.
Not because he couldn't play, but when you looked at the NFL, Charlton, there were many teams in the NFL that could not win 5 games.
Yeah.
That would have benefited from having a James Harris at the quarterback in the late 70s.
Yeah.
But he could not be traded to one of those teams because all of a sudden he was going to do what he did with the Rams, where you're going to get the team to the playoffs. You're going to be 1 game short of the NFC Championship.
Yeah.
And we don't want that because this is a prototypical league, and yet you're prototypical size, but you're not prototypical color. That's the barrier right there. You're prototypical size, but you're not prototypical color. You go back to a Randall Cunningham when he was with the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, out of UNLV.
They set an NFL scoring record with Randy Moss and Chris Carter and Robert Smith as a running back on that team. They set the point record, and they came a field goal short of the Super Bowl against the Atlanta Falcons.
When Anderson missed the kick,
All of a sudden, Randall Cunningham was without a job again.
Wow.
Being an NFL comeback player of the year and MVP, and you're out of a job because you set NFL records because you're not a prototypical quarterback. Go back and look at these things. They're not lies or vindictive measures that I'm talking about. It's fact. It is what the NFL doesn't want to say, and the talking heads won't address it. They will talk about this kid coming out of college, but tell me, any one of these top 4 white kids that are coming out of college that are better than Russell Wilson?
Well, see, that's an important point you're making, Big C, because I do know we all, like Chris Rock said, who was the great Rodney King said, can't we all just get along? And athletes get along, whether they're black, white, Hispanic. I don't think it matters much in the locker room. But the GMs that run the NFL, I think there's only 3 or 4, I think 2 or 3 African-American GMs.
There's 2 African-Americans, Floyd Reese with the New York Giants, Reggie McKenzie with the Oakland Raiders, Charlton. That's it.
Okay, so now when you think about the decisions being made, is it that simplistic that they really would rather see a white guy fail than a black man succeed? When you talk about Doug Williams throwing 5 touchdown passes and couldn't be found again, Randall Cunningham going to the NFC Championship game, they're all pro kicker, misses the field goal, and we don't really see much about him anymore. The great players over the past, even back in the 70s, that have come into the league, they used to make them defensive backs and wide receivers. Now, instead of trying to make them defensive backs and wide receivers, they just criticize them the way they do Colin Kaepernick, Big C?
Well, you look at what Colin has done, Charlton, in his NFL career.
Yeah.
Show me 5 quarterbacks who've had more success in the last 4 years than Colin Kaepernick that are at his age level. I mean, you got to go up to the Brady's. I mean, when was the last time Eli Manning made the playoffs, Charlton? It's been 5 years.
Yeah.
5 years since Eli Manning has made the playoffs. Anybody talking about getting rid of Eli Manning? What did the Giants win last year? 5 games?
Wow.
5 games. And in 10 years, Tony Romo has won 2 pathetic playoff games. 2, Charlton, in 10 years. 10
so why don't they
years.
undercome the? Why don't they?
Ryan, Charlton, with Atlanta, has won 1 playoff game. And none of these quarterbacks have hit double-digit wins in the last 3 seasons, Charlton. So nobody's talking about getting rid of them. Matthew Stafford, one playoff win. Nobody's talking about getting rid of these pathetic quarterbacks, but you're talking about paying them more money. You look at Brock Osweiler. Let's give him $47 million guaranteed because he won 5 damn games, okay?
Wow.
5 games worth $47 million. And Chase Daniels, I told you about him, the backup in Kansas City and New Orleans over the past 6 years, has one NFL touchdown pass. One, Charlton. And he got $6 million.
Hold on. He has how many touchdown passes?
1 touchdown pass, Charlton. 1 in his NFL career in 6 years, and got $6 to $7 million from the Philadelphia Eagles.
That is so crazy. That's crazy.
It's asinine, Charlton. It goes back to Matt Flynn about 4 years ago with the Green Bay Packers when he comes into a game against the Detroit Lions in a mop-up role last game of the season.
Yeah.
And he throws 5 or 6 touchdown passes, and the next year Seattle gives him $15 million. Even though they cut him, but they wasted $15 million on a guy who had only played one game in the NFL.
I think a lot of guys, they always talk about testing athletes to see if they have any illegal substance. I think they need to start doing the same thing for these owners when they come up with contracts like that, because even there's still this talk that Kaepernick may be talking to Denver about going to Denver. I think why would he take less money, though?
Listen to this. Why in the heck would Kaepernick talk to Denver? You're going to tell the guy, okay, we want you to take a 50% pay cut. Are you guaranteed $12 million, okay? If you come to Denver, we'll give you 6.
Right.
We want to say that you're stupid. You know, okay, you might as well just call the guy and say, we want his stupid butt to come to Denver and take a $6 million pay cut.
Well,
Denver's not going to be any better this year than what San Francisco was last year. They've lost their entire team to free agency.
Yeah.
If Denver wins 7 games, it'll be a great feat in the NFL this coming season.
Well, I wonder how many of these analysts that are on TV saying, well, you know, Kaepernick, he's putting the team in a tough spot because first he said he wanted to be traded, and now he's saying he wants to stay in San Francisco. He doesn't want to give up $6 million as if he's stupid. How many of them are willing to give back money when they make the wrong choices or the wrong decisions about who should go where, Big C? There's a lot of Mel Kipers running around.
Charlton, if Mel Kiper and all these other draft gurus were paid on their prognostication, they're going to sit there, you know, owing money the rest of their lives. Mel Kiper, as we said last year, hit 22% of the players drafted in the first round.
22%? 22%?
No, 22%. That's it. So now you think about it. There's not a sport that you can be successful 22% of the time and keep the job. Okay, so I don't know how he's keeping his prognosticating job because the monkey last year in the zoo, he's 30 and 32.
Wait.
30 and 32.
If they start...
So he's rolling in bananas all year long, you know.
If you keep saying animals are making better predictions than people like us.
I'm not saying the animals. Only difference was between Mel Kiper and the monkey. And Mel Kiper may have had a better hairdo. That's it.
Well, Big C, as you know, this show goes by way too fast. And again, I want to tell you that we're out of time. But I do appreciate you listening to Charlton and Big C Sports because you get real talk here. You know, you always open my mind. I don't really think race matters all that much. But when you start giving me facts, I'm having to say, man, maybe it still does make a difference. Hopefully we can get past that someday. And you can follow more on the Charlton and Big C show as we talk real sports Monday through Friday, 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time, worldwide on Charlton and Big C Sports. Thank you and have a super fantastic day.